Hello, little wine introverts. Welcome back to the Introvert Wine Podcast. This is still Xenia, and this is episode 16. Before we dig into a very exciting topic of today, I wanted to recap on some latest news and developments since we last talked to you guys. And obviously, the biggest one is the one and only President Donald Trump, who is back in the wine headlines. Well, obviously not only the wine headlines, all of the headlines, but in some of his recent speeches and through social publications, he did announce the new wave of tariffs. So this is not a new story. That has been done before in 2019 with the wine tariffs, which hit French, Spanish, and German wines in particular that were under 14 ABV. And then it hit a lot of importers and sommeliers and restaurants, obviously. So now he is speaking about imposing tariffs, and that will range depending on the country. So the EU will get their own percentage of the tariffs. That comes in a wider range of products hit, so it's not aiming at the wines in particular. But as you can imagine, wine exports in some countries are quite a big percentage of the goods that are exported in the total to the States. If you speak about Italy, France, Spain, in some extent Portugal and Germany. So though it has not been made official, there has been a 90-day promise and the 10% that has already been declared. A lot of producers, in the anticipation of this new tariffs, have been trying to explore new markets and new destinations, and obviously they should have done, and some of them have done that before, in terms of diversifying their portfolio overall, but this is the biggest wine market today, and honestly, the claim that the tariffs will protect the local goods is actually not really relevant and valid for the protection of the wine market in the States, because a lot of winemakers in California and across the country has come forward saying that it does not protect. It worsens the market situation, it decreases the competition, it is not making the wine more accessible or cheaper for the final consumer. It just makes it chaotic. And I feel that's what Donald was aiming at. But, well, on a more optimistic update, I've just heard that the Decanter World Wine Awards has just wrapped up their 2025 tasting marathon, and they have tasted over 18,000 entries. I've seen a lot of familiar wine faces that were among the judges, and I'm very confident that the outcome that we will have is the best results. So I'm looking forward to seeing what are the big surprises. And actually, I've seen some of the, let's say, posts about the entries that were particularly interesting to some of the judges, and a few Indian wineries made it to the medal list again. So it is showing us that the Indian wine scene is slowly but steadily rising in the global recognition. So speaking about India, that brings me to today's episode. So I am joined by a very special guest and a dear friend, Amrita Singh. So she is a fellow wine professional who began her career in fashion retail and made the bold leap into the wine world. She is originally from India, now based in Bordeaux, and she will speak about her background and how she ended up in wine. And I feel that there's a lot of interesting points to take. So we'll talk about her journey in the wine business, what it was like to switch careers, and how wine business and hospitality look very different in India. And we will touch upon the Indian wine market evolution, what's growing, what's changing, what are the trends, what are the consumers, what's still misunderstood, especially from the outside. And, well, also speaking about a very important and big step for the Indian wine market is the foundation of the Indian Sommelier Association, that just under 1 year already is member of ASI, International Sommelier Association, and already sending their sommeliers to study and to compete at the highest level. That's very remarkable, but I will let Amrita explain all of this. Hello, very welcome to Introvert Wine Podcast, and I'm very happy to have Amrita with me here. So Amrita, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Xenia. Firstly, super congratulations on creating this podcast, and it's very impressive. And thank you for having me. I'm Amrita Singh. I'm from India and I moved to Bordeaux in 2018. I was actually part of fashion industry for 18 years and I decided to study wine. And I moved to Bordeaux in 2018 and did my Kedge Business School MSc Wine and Spirits Management and followed it through WSET diploma. And I'm currently a stage two candidate for the Master of Wine program. On the business side, in 2020, I created Amrita Singh Studios, which is a consultancy on wine, fashion, art. So, along with many other projects which I do in these three different segments, I also teach. I've been doing workshops at Kedge Business School with the art school for last 4 years. I've also been teaching in the ECB Bordeaux School for last 2 3 years. So that's something which I do through my studio. I have a partnership company, agency on wine, spirits, and champagne with my business partner. It's called Cellar 33. It's an export and marketing agency based in Bordeaux. We work with producers from 6 countries and we try to launch them in different markets. India is a special project. And last 2 years, we've been doing Win Expo and Pro Wine to take our producers in India as well. Recently, we've done a very, very exciting project and we're very happy about it is that we created the Sommelier first ever Sommelier Association of India. And at the onset itself, we got it affiliated to the ASI. So we are very excited, and that's what we've been doing.
That's already plenty of topics I want to immediately dig in with you because there's such a wide expertise that I'm sure we can discuss today with you. How did it start for you with the wine industry? Has it always been an interest to work in wine? And how did you end up in the wine business?
That's a good question. Thank you, Zinia. See, actually, I come from India where spirits is the dominant and is a preference of alcohol beverage. However, because I did my master's in fashion way back 99, 2001, and I was in the industry, I moved to a city called Bangalore in 2004. And that is where I tasted my first wine, 2004 in Bangalore, because Bangalore is more advanced in terms of wine culture in India. And since I used to travel a lot to Asia and then to Europe and UK, I had opportunities to taste different kinds of wine. I was very intrigued. I was very because we had not grown up drinking wine because India is a different culture and it's never been the family kind of having wine or spirits at home, but obviously everybody has it outside home as students, as professionals growing up. So my interest developed from there, and it actually kind of really excited me to taste different wines when I used to travel. Even in India, I had joined them. That time, there used to be a Wine Society of India, which every quarter they used to send us 6 bottles of wines from different parts of the world. And I had joined that, and it was a very like it. I used to wait for that carton to come in every quarter, and it
So
was
it's
very
like a little
exciting.
wine tasting club.
Yeah, it was a little wine tasting, but like obviously I didn't know much of technical or anything, but it was for me that, I used to really enjoy that. And like all my friends were also always inquisitive as to why I prefer that beverage over so many spirits and cocktail and beer. But I was very intrigued, very excited. And over the years I used to take my holidays, I used to go to the vineyards, I used to spend my time. Yeah, I was in 2017, I was in London for my work, and I decided to kind of look at how much bank balance do I have, that can I sustain myself, go and study, and then, figure out from there. Things led to things, and I kind of, joined Kedge Business School in 2018, the MSc Wine and Spirits Management program, and that's how my journey started in wine.
When you decided to at least to start or to try studying wine, did you have a particular career path or role or area of the wine business that you knew you'd like to explore, or you were more experimenting overall to see if the wine business is something suitable for you professionally?
To be honest, I never thought about that I'm going to do this or that in the wine industry because, as I told you, I worked in the fashion industry for almost 17, 18 years. and it was all on the corporate side and very exhaustive. I mean, obviously, I worked my way through to the leadership in that industry where I was, traveling and, really experiencing, launching brands from Europe and UK, creating brands in India. So it was really a very exciting profession I was in and doing very well. But then I thought, you have just one life. And, if I happen to turn 70 and 80 with the kind of wine we are indulging in, I should not regret. I should feel happy that I wanted to take this step to explore the entire wine industry and see what can happen from there. So to be honest, I took a risk, a calculated one, not a gamble, and I said that okay, let's go ahead and see what happens. So actually, in 2017, I was in London and for work, and I explored the schools where I can go to, and I found about six, seven schools. Three, four of them were more sommelier led, and I zeroed into Bordeaux and Cage Business School because that's the something which I wanted to do more on the communication, business, marketing side. I wanted to do that. And therefore, that actually started how I started looking at the wine industry. And I had no clue of what professions I could take or what journey I could entail. I just took that leap of faith. I did not know a single person in Bordeaux. I came alone, but by God's grace, now there's a huge community I'm connected to and have huge friends across the world through wine, and it is something which has completely reshaped my life. And I think from the fashion and the art and all background, wine has become its addition to the entire lifestyle space for me. And that is something which is very exciting because I can see so many similarities across different categories, whether it's fashion or wine. But when I came here and I started exploring things and looking at, so things led to things. I said, okay, we do the WSET diploma and the Master of Wine. I came across people and then obviously created my business. So I think it was also being at the right time at the right place and making sure that you do it. And also I think for me it was also a life changing experience to win the Taylor Sport Golden Wines Diversity Scholarship from the Jared Bassett Foundation, and that is something also which really added and supported a lot in my journey, not only as a scholarship but also like connecting with anybody in the world and also making sure that I have a structured path moving forward.
It's very often that I hear, especially if people are transitioning into wine at a more mature stage of their life, that it's a calling of passion. But I'm also curious about your experience because you did not start from zero. Of course, wine was something that you had to learn and understand, and there's a lot of technicalities behind it. But is there something from your experience in fashion and luxury retail that helped you to transition into the wine world? And you've mentioned some of the similarities that you found in the businesses. Can you explain this part a little bit more to me, please?
I think, see, because like fashion, you wear, whether it's everything, clothes, jewelry, shoes, accessories, that is something which is very personal and you wear. Similarly, wine also is very personal, the taste you like, the kind of style you like, also on the occasion when you wear certain, pieces you store for a certain occasion, and therefore you also store wine for a certain occasion. So, there is a many similarities. I think there are two different categories. It has similarities in a way that it's the product is the hero. I mean, when you get attracted to a great dress or a great bag, it's the product. Similarly, in the wine industry as well, if you taste a good wine, obviously there are big brands, but also there are many boutique brands. They're very interesting labels which come up. And same is on the fashion side. If you see, you have vintage stores and you have smaller stores creating great products. So I think the similarity clearly is that you see that, you prefer the product. You have preference not only for the product, but also there could be price sensitivity. There could also be influence of brands. So you have iconic brands, whether you look at brands from Champagne or Bordeaux itself is a brand, and then you have the other luxury brands on both sides. So I think very similarity, and actually that was something which I also presented to the students last week. I was having a workshop with a Kedge art school, and that's exactly what I was trying to tell them, that the taste industries in France is dominated by wine. So, you have cheese and you have so many other food items, but wine is a very, very significant component. And not much to say, but I would say that it's all your lifestyle, because you wear fashion and you consume wine. So, it's that way.
A lot of similarities I find, like you said, in the approach of these products as lifestyle products, because we will not die if we don't have a Gucci bag. And similarly, we will not starve or die if we don't have champagne or Krug or Lafite bottle in our lives. It's the choices, and they're not the survival choices, but the nice choices, the lifestyle choices that you make. And it's really interesting when you speak and compare it to the fashion industry, and I imagine also to the perfume industry in a lot of ways. And I'm curious because you teach, and I imagine your students also approach you with this topic because you yourself, before starting your career in wine, you went and got the education in the wine industry. Do you think it's obligatory, or it really depends what is your role in the wine business? What do you think?
So I don't think that there is a particular role you need to define. I feel that when you're working in an industry, and that also at a certain level, especially having your own business, you need to obviously specialize, or so to say, be focused on some aspects. But overall, you have to have knowledge across the board. You need to be in sync with what's happening across the board, what is not happening. And like, for example, if we have our own export and marketing agency, so you also see that some of the brands, how they get influenced by marketing and you sell it, and it's not just sales. So I think there is a complete way you need to understand this entire space, that there's not one particular role which is above or lesser than the other. It all depends upon your experience. It depends how you curate your career going forward, and how you make the most of it. And similarly for me, I felt that I worked 18 years in the fashion industry. I added wine as something which was my passion, and I never thought that I will do what I'm doing, but it all came because I was open to ideas. I was open to curating something very interesting, and said that that's exactly why I have two different segments. One is my studio, which has a combination of still wine, fashion art, and one is Cellar 33, which is purely champagne wine spirits. And then we have the association. So they're all three are associations, more training, education, doing the larger scope and creating a community, doing a lot for the people and the sommeliers in India, making sure that the hospitality space, we do a lot of contribution on that front. So I think all three are very distinct in its way. And I'm very happy that I was able to curate very three distinctive projects for me. That was never envisaged since the beginning, because once you get into it and you see how things are and opportunities you have and what can you create out of it, and not only create but also make sure that you take people along with it and co-create many things for the larger benefit. Because this is also my second career stint. I already worked for 18 years in a industry, and then this was second. So for me, it was very important to see that how we connect it to creating with the community and working with people across the board, not just be very specific to a particular role.
And if we put aside the technical skills and knowledge that, well, might help in the wine industry, what qualities, what personal qualities and soft skills do you think are particularly important in the wine business?
So for me, I think apart from all the like qualities which people mention is your hard work and professionalism and being diligent and being everything, I think for me one foremost quality is humility. I think I really feel that you need to be humble, and whether you in even if you're achieve and you're on the top. So I think humility is very important. And then obviously you have to be resilient. There could not be every situation cannot be successful. We see the graph going up and down. So you need to be resilient, and you have to have the perseverance to keep doing every single day, because it's very important that when you're successful and you're known, and obviously that motivates you to work hard, but you need to work hard when nobody is seeing you. You need to work hard every single day to achieve your dream. And I think that's the most important part, because when people see you, when you're successful, obviously you're motivated. But you could not be you face we all in the wine industry, we see that we face so many things on the everyday level. You are also a master of wine student, Xenia. We see that every day we don't have the same tasting capability. One day is different from the other. So I believe that you have to be self motivated and disciplined to do it every single day, even when nobody is watching you, because I think that is a mark of a quality which is something which can make you really successful and confident.
Yeah, I think self-motivation is probably, for me, a quality that I've observed in people who I know have achieved already a lot of really good results, a lot of success. But this is what kind of puts them aside and define is that they continue to motivate themselves to do something else, even though they already can be happy and be sitting, well, obviously in the MW community, a lot of people like this that are overachievers because we already could have been happy with the diploma, with the master degree from university. That's already a lot of achievement for a lot of people. So pushing yourself even further, that is a very strong quality. I agree with you completely. That definitely that sets aside a lot of people from just enjoying the life and being happy with their results to actually pushing yourself a little bit harder every day. And that is a great quality. I agree with you. And if you look back at your kind of start or conversion to the wine industry, is there any advice you would give to people, to your students, or to maybe our friends or colleagues that are thinking about switching careers from something to wine or within the wine? What helped you, or what would you do differently if you had the chance, let's go back 5 years ago, 6 years ago?
Firstly, I think I would not do anything differently, because I feel that if I had to relive it, I will relive it, because it's been a great journey. Obviously, there have been great challenges as well. It has not been a bed of roses, but I think those challenges has really given me a perspective, taught me a lot, made me more resilient, more hungry for my dream to achieve the dreams I have. And I think it's a good blend of success, challenge, failures, which creates your future. And I think one should not shy away from any of these. However, one advice which I would give is that don't be afraid, don't be intimidated. You need to take a risk, not gamble. You need to plan what you want to do, because many times you don't think and you just get into it. But I feel that obviously you don't know the future, but you need to at least have take that calculated risk, and also not just not do anything about it and be safe, because if you want to achieve something, you need to go through that journey. You need, and that journey is not going to be only success or only being easy. It has to be challenges, and it will be tough, and it will throw you in the areas where you need to like recover from. So I think if you decide to do something, you have to be prepared for the consequences, and you need to take it with stride and enjoy it with a glass of wine.
Yeah, I think calculated risk is a very good concept because it's a risk, so it excites you, it makes you work harder and push a bit more. But the fact that it is calculated is that you're not, open-hearted, that you go recklessly into something, into a project without planning all the possible scenarios. So I think it's also a good strategy to take calculated risks. And I know like a lot of us would not be in the places we are now if we didn't have that. But I
Absolutely.
also like the smart approach that you do not just do something because you want, but you actually weigh a lot of factors before you start a career project or something like that. Yeah, I think that's a really great advice. And also, I think what what can, I don't know, especially in the environment that is very unstable now and unpredictable with a lot of happening. And we obviously cannot predict a lot of things because, well, we don't elect the American president every year, so we are stuck in the situation of the world for a little while. And having said that, you've just recently started the Sommelier Association in India, which was, I think, a great deal of work and support, and also your time and resources and your team's time and resources put into that. And I see now, especially in this environment, that a lot of businesses are starting to look for new opportunities, new markets, because they are not happy or they cannot rely on the markets they're in now, like the States or China. So they're trying to explore what is outside. And I see a lot of interest turning now into India because it was always there kind of on the map, because of the big population, because of the location as well. So it's somewhat between East and West in the middle. There is some connections. There is a lot of opportunities to explore because it's a little bit of terra incognita, but I haven't seen actually like a lot, a massive effort because it feels like it's so unknown and so exotic and so unpredictable that not a lot of businesses just go, full throttle and explore. They try to do little steps and explorations. And obviously, there is a lot of knowledge missing on how India functions in terms of wine. So I feel like what you guys are doing with the association is opening up India to the world and saying, look, we also have hospitality, we also have sommeliers, there is wine business, there is wine consumption, and we want to show that it is there. Because as I said, it's not very obvious from the outside, even though, like you said, of course, they're young people, of course, there's wine consumption, of course, there's some drinking happening, but no one really on a big scale knows or has seen what is happening inside India. So I think the Sommelier Association is a big step to kind of opening up the wine community of India to the world and having this community also integrated in the global community and saying, like we want to be part of it, we can be bigger, we can be an exciting market, it just takes time. So it's really, I think, my luck and a great luck for everyone who's going to listen to this episode, hopefully, is to speak about Indian wine market. Is wine popular in India? What wines are people drinking there? I mean, what are the trends, and has it changed recently from your experience when you grew up and you started drinking wine? So what is the, let's say, background at the moment of the wine in India?
No, that's a very important area to discuss because, see, I think first to give you the current perspective and background, India is 1.4 billion population, is world's largest population. But what is interesting is it's world's youngest population. The average age is 27 years old. 65% of the population is below the age of 35, and it's a completely young dynamic India, which even for me, every time when I go back now, and I go back like twice a year, or if there's, now there's more projects, so it'll be more often, I see a different, completely different India every year. So it's really changing on the fast pace. Um, uh, younger consumers are drinking wine or drinking alcohol very differently than how we were doing it, or even the older generation was doing it. So we see a complete shift in terms of choices, in terms of consumption, in terms of the questions they have, or the use they want to do with their money and earning, because there's a rise on the disposable income and stuff like that. India is currently the third largest alcohol bev market in the world, but wine is only 1% of market share. It's a very, very small category still. However, it's growing on a very higher percentage growth. For me, it'll be good not to quote the growth because every sources say something else. But the trajectory is good, and a very good growth lined up for the next 5 to 7, 10 years and beyond. The most important thing is that, obviously, and that's exactly where the Sommelier Association of India has to come in and do a lot of work, is that a lot of the wine is consumed at the front end. And what happens is at the front end, you need a good sommelier to present those wines. You need a somebody to explain. And since, as I told you, that India has not been drinking wine since inception, and there is a lot of education and awareness and training which needs to come in. So I think the most important thing is to first train the trainer, which means that train all the sommeliers and the people at the bar and the restaurants to help them educate the consumers what choices they can make about whether it's food pairing or the occasion you want to drink for or something like that. So like obviously champagne has been huge in India for celebration, and that's why Martin Chandon has the Chandon winery in India as well. But they, I think, also largely, if you see, like many of the countries, India was also drinking a lot of red wine, and there was a lot of red wine consumption. But then that has also evolved. People are experimenting with different styles of wine. You can see that in the different imports and the different, the also the opening up of the market with Australia, because the import duty is 150% in India, which is also a challenge to kind of send the wines to India, because import it's different state taxes, excise, import 150% duty. So I think it's a challenging space for operation so far. But at the same time, with Australia, the duty has gone down, and you can see a lot of Australian wines. You also see wines from Chile and Argentina, and of course from Europe. Italian wines are very, very preferred. A lot of people prefer Italian wines as well because they entered the market more before. But I think these readings are something which is also done on a very small base, because right now the base itself is changing with consumers. As I mentioned, is just 1% market share, so there's not too much of data that okay, India is drinking this or India is evolving, I
Mhm.
would say. And it's evolving, and that's exactly the space where education comes in very, and training comes in as very important, because the sommeliers and the front end needs to be educated, to be trained, to kind of educate and make people aware of what choices they can make.
And this growth, even though it's small percentage for wine overall for consumption, do you think it's internal, as you said, because of the growth of disposable income, or it's more external because a lot of wine producing countries are looking for markets, and India for them is obviously a very lucrative market to enter and to be there, to be present there? Or what is it in your opinion? What influences it more?
See, there are three, four wineries. I mean, obviously, we have more wineries, many more. Nasik is the region we have. Then also, you have towards in Karnataka and in Andhra. But Maharashtra, Nasik is the main region, the wine capital of India. However, top three to four wine companies, the wineries, they dominate the market share. So almost 70% of the market share is taken by them. Import, as I last knew, was imported wines were only 30%.
Mhm.
And but that's exactly where the space is. But as I mentioned, that there is a lot of change which is happening in consumption, because the young and the dynamic, the professional consumers, people who are traveling the world, and they are more looking at international experiences and stuff like that. They're obviously, they have preference of different kinds of wine and different kinds of wine from different countries. And that is something which will obviously influence the policymakers. One, two, the obviously we have growth internally on the wine production and also consumption, but I don't think it will have enough to kind of cater to the larger base
Mhm.
that gets created. And I think the opening up of the market happened. And this is exactly, I see it when you tell me about comparison. When I was in the fashion industry, we launched the first, because I was the lead of the project to launch the first women's wear brand in India. And when we created dresses in 2004, the designer created dresses, and we said we need to launch it. We were questioned from the manager, that management, that who's going to wear this. But 2009, Zara came in and completely changed the market. And we had the opening up of the market, international brands coming, and so many things change on that side. Similarly, I see on the wine side, because again, the same thing of questions that who's going to drink this wine, do we have consumers? But obviously things are changing, consumer preferences changing. Now, this entire space of young people drinking differently is across the world, not only in India, but in India, it's going to be more impactful because it's the youngest population in the world. So it'll be very exciting and interesting to see how that pans out, because obviously we cannot really predict many things on that
Mm.
front. But definitely, I think there will be more and more wine and the wine styles countries coming to India, because there's space.
An interesting trend because the younger generation in the other parts of the world are switching from wine to non-wine or no alcohol drinks overall. Whereas I feel like the Indian younger generation is just discovering wine, which I think is super exciting trend, and it's not something that you see in a lot of countries. So obviously you understand why the interest and the wine business is booming.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, for example, but at the same time, as I said, that we don't know how this is going to pan out, because as I mentioned, I did the workshop 2 weeks back. There were 93 students and 17 nationalities, and I asked each of them at the end of the session that what is your preferred choice of beverage. What do you like when you are eating, or you're at the dinner or at home? Many of them said that their preference is not drinking. They like to have tea or coffee or bubble tea, or experiment more with cocktails, have beer. It wasn't that a majority of them said wine or spirits. They really brought in a very different dimension. Like, it was like anything beverage. Some
Mm.
said that we like to have, different styles of cocktail, or we will like to explore different styles of tea or bubble tea or all of these things. But for wine, of course, when then they were wine drinkers and wine lovers, and they knew their wine, they knew about obviously the champagne and Burgundy, and the wines from even Australia and Napa, South Africa. So some of them obviously were very updated, and I thought they were really enjoying great wine. But the overall picture I got is that it's very segmented. It's not that majority is saying, okay, I'm drinking this wine and I love this. It was very segmented. And also, some of the people from, say, countries like Lebanon, or countries like Mexico, and they were also talking about their own, local spirits which they have. So it was very, very fragmented and segmented, and I didn't get a picture that everybody's drinking the
Mm-hmm. The
aspiring to
same.
drink this wine there.
No. No, obviously there is a lot of unpredictable outcomes, which makes it also very exciting. But what you mentioned, and I find it really true because I'm a wine educator myself, is that this interest for the wine has to be kind of educated and developed by somebody, even especially for the new consumers, for the fresh consumers. And sommeliers do come very importantly in this role. So what is the concept of sommelier profession in India? Is it common for a restaurant to have a sommelier? Is it not? What have you seen? Maybe what changed in the past years in your perception?
So obviously, like every other, every country which is evolving this space of hospitality, and like we have the bartenders and the sommeliers and the waiters, and at a particular time, it was very difficult to identify one from the each, because it was a different. But obviously, in the last, so to say, 10 years, 15 years, there has been a massive change. It's We used to have very small number of certified sommeliers. Now there are many more, and it's growing. Through the ASI, we just launched the ASI diploma and certification also in India, first time. So it was very exciting to see the questions and the inquiries coming in. But to answer your question, that, like, obviously sommeliers were growing as a community, and there were great sommeliers in different hospitality groups and restaurants and bars. But like every other country post COVID, there was also a challenge where good front end sommeliers were not coming back to the profession, and many of them also chose to go internationally. So
Mm.
when we did the first ever sommelier competition, we have candidates coming from Dubai, Singapore, New Zealand, and Italy, and from the cruise ships. So because they had all moved out for many. Some of them obviously were from moved out from a long time, but and they lived with families, but a lot of them moved out of because they had better opportunities. And also to understand, because I think, as I mentioned, that the country was not in tune with the entire culture of sommelier, or the entire culture of wine and spirits, and wine basically being served, and wine lists being created, and all of that evolved over the last 10 to 15 years. But I think there's a lot of opportunity, and a lot of things needs to be done. And that's it's the right time to have the Sommelier Association of India, where we launched last year. So in January, and we got affiliated in February last year with the SI. And over the last in 2024, we kind of launched the membership and the things at the back end, and moved on to do the first ever competition in January this year. So I think it's very exciting, because I was in 2023. So my business partner, he's the best sommelier of Italy and Australia, and he was representing Italy in the World Championship in 2023. And I said, I want to meet the best sommelier of India. And he said, I have never met best sommelier of India. And he said, okay, let's find out. And we found out there was no best sommelier of India. And obviously, through the scholarship, I work very closely with Nina Basse. She's a mentor, and I connected with her, and I asked her if we can connect to the SI, and she connected us to Saiko Tamura Suga, the ASI Vice President Asia. She said that some of the inquiries had come in the past, but it didn't go through, and we realized why, because creating a non-profit organization is very challenging. So, then also Mati Antonio Chanca, who's my business partner, then Salvatore Castano, who's the best sommelier of Europe, he also joined us. My ex-colleague from the fashion industry, the finance, legal, and compliance, he was the CFO. He joined. So we created this association, a non-profit, and we got it done at the record time to be able to be present for the GA in Monaco last year, where we presented to the ASI board and 65 member countries, and got voted to be, get inducted into the ASI membership. So I think that something which we did to make sure that from the onset there is a international credibility coming from ASI, and that was very important, because ASI is the authority across the world when it comes to the entire sommelier and service, and whether it is the competition or the contest, the exam education. So we really wanted to, from the onset, make sure that we are the ASI representation in India, and also the two of the co-founders are the SI sommeliers. So it was very important to do that. And once we have done that in place, we can see that there is a lot of interest, because obviously many of the sommeliers who are in the profession, they know about ASI, and they were very happy to be connected, and we had good applications. So the first time itself, we had 14 applications, actually 16. Two of them backed out last minute. We tried to convince them, but they didn't, for some personal reasons. So we had 14 candidates straight, and there were three from Dubai, one from Italy, one from New Zealand, one from Singapore, who also works at the 67 Pall Mall, and then we had some sommeliers from the cruise ship, and there are many, like 50% of the sommeliers were working in the best hospitality groups in India. So the idea is to co-create a lot of programs, make sure that we bring together the community. Already in almost a year, we have 100 members, and there are also a list of great number of enthusiast members, which makes us believe that a lot of people want to learn about wine, and they want to get inducted. I think we will need more and more support to make sure that we are able to provide that kind of training, education, exposure to our sommeliers. And you are along with Piotr putting up the ASI Education Bootcamp in Singapore, and we are very excited because all the three of our winners, the top three winners, are going to be attending first time ever from India, the ASI Education
Yeah,
Bootcamp.
and participating in the competition as well later.
And the first Jay Singh, who's the winner, will be representing India for the first time at the Asia Championship and the World Championship next year. We are very excited because it's the first time representation. So the idea is obviously to do a lot of things in India to create the training programs, education, and work with the stakeholders of the industry to make sure that we have first create a definition of a sommelier. You
Mm.
know, who is a sommelier? To make sure that it's clear to everybody who's at the front end and the consumers and the industry, and not the industry, the consumers and the country at large, but also provide the platform through the education to all our sommeliers on an international stage for them to compete and show their skills.
Yeah, I understand, of course, perfectly that you're not acting as creating the profession from zero in India. It already exists. But
Yes.
as you said, providing a platform and uniting, which I imagine is not also an easy job, seeing how big and how split into states India is and how on a, I imagine also a very different level of development of wine culture and sommelier profession, depending if you're in a bigger city like Mumbai or if you're in a smaller city or if you're in the south of the country or the north. So there's a lot of people speak about the United States being 50 countries in one country when you deal with wine business, but I feel India is also can be related in the same way because it's so different from state to state, from city to city, and definitely that takes a lot of work in uniting the people who already obviously work in the wine business and the sommelier. But in your perception, especially maybe among the younger generation, do you feel like the sommelier is a prestigious profession to start your career, or you think it can become one such in future or near future? How do you feel about it?
To tell you that India has always been very strong in hospitality and service. So if I take the base of that, we our service and hospitality industry is very very unique because we've already always host guests from abroad and even in India, and there's a lot of tourism, and so I think the basic is there. But I think in terms of sommelier and having that knowledge and training has evolved, as I mentioned, that has evolved in last 15 years, and there have been a lot of people in the country who've done a lot of good work to contribute and do a lot of things on the side to bring in the sommelier profession in the spotlight. And like now you have the CMS program. So CMS was established almost long back, and there are a lot of certified, and then obviously the advanced sommeliers from India. There are a couple of them now being invited for the MS exams as well. So there is in last 10-15 years a lot of things which was done. We can see some results that some of the sommeliers are going globally to acquire higher degrees, higher professional certifications. But also a lot of people are themselves trying to train and also trying to do a lot of good work at the front end. It's a very not a very large community, but it is slated to become very large. And that's important to provide that education, training, and employment, so to say, so that there is no, you're not looking at people moving out. So you do all the good work there, and then people move out because of opportunity. So the idea is that with the stakeholders of the industry, that's exactly, and it's very challenging for us, Zinia, because we are a non-profit body, and we work with memberships and sponsorships. However, to explain a lot of people the vision and mission of Sommelier Association of India, what is ASI, that itself is very challenging because a lot of people are not aware. Even in the industry, a lot of people are not aware, and you need to explain them, and you need to come up with, I think I came up with explanation of ASI and Psi in such innovative ways that I myself was wondering that what's happening, because you need to tell them what we are talking about. So I think that has been something which even Matia was very deeply involved, because 2 years, last 2 years, we were traveling for our another project, and we were connected with a lot of sommeliers. We also worked with them, and we saw that. So, and that was also one of the base we realized that there's a huge opportunity to do this project in India to make sure that we are able to contribute to a larger cause. And the idea is to bring in more memberships, sponsorships for us to be able to support and make sure that we are able to also help or influence the industry to help them get better job conditions, lucrative positions, so that they are able to, contribute to their best. While also, obviously, every people will obviously move out, and we all did for opportunities and stuff like that. But then there are a lot of people who also want to be in India. They also, for family reasons, and they also choose to not go abroad. So I think it should be a choice for everybody to either, if they want to work abroad, because now we are connected in 65 member countries, and we can always see that if there's a need for an Indian sommelier somewhere, we can always connect our sommeliers. However, if somebody wants to work in India, then we facilitate that. So I think there's a lot of work which has to be done in the next years. We're just 1 year old. We just rolled out the SI diploma. We had only one candidate, the guy who also won the first runner up. He passed the diploma exam, so we are very excited. The other two Indians, the winner of the competition, he's a member of Sommelier Association of India, but he appeared through USP in Italy, and he passed the exam, and one from Estonia. So we are following their journey, and they passed the diploma exam, because before that there was only one person, Harnil Mathur, who's in Hong Kong, who was the ASI diploma. So I think a lot of awareness and a lot of hard work and a lot of collaborations to do a lot of things which we intend to do.
Yeah, I think it's a very different sort of work and effort you put in a market that's new to start from scratch, whereas you go to a market that's more established, and obviously you have different challenges and work to be done. But I feel like having something new, or as you said, a bigger impact, I think it's, for me personally, sounds very exciting. Obviously, a lot of challenges and a lot of work ahead of you guys, but a lot of also, I feel like nice moments, nice memories that you'll create. And also, I feel many markets grow and go through the same kind of growth pains as you mentioned, when there's obviously great professionals and very high level skilled sommeliers, and at some point of their career they choose to move out and work in a different market that for some reason seem more advanced in their area of expertise. And if you think about it, and if you think of the late Gerard Passet, it was exactly the case of him going and working in the UK, because the UK, and we know all of us that even if France is wine producing country, the level of sommelier and the exposure to the wine world in the UK is way different, even if you compare Paris and London. And I feel like maybe India is also going through the same process of, okay, there are way more exposed and advanced markets, like you mentioned, like Hong Kong, Singapore. We know that on the wine consumption map, they're definitely quite renowned and famous. But also, I feel what you're saying about this sommeliers with their expertise and knowledge coming back to India to grow together with the Indian market. As I said, it's a very different challenge. And for some people, it is more exciting. For some people, maybe it's better for them, or they prefer to go to a market that's already kind of needs and appreciates their expertise, like Dubai, for example. So it's a very interesting case of a lot of things happening in India. And thank you for sharing with us. I definitely learned a thing or two for myself. So to kind of wrap this up and have a little bonus point from my side for you, can you please share what's your favorite wine at the moment, and what is your favorite wine region to visit now?
Well, for me, I think I will not be able to give a very straight answer, because when I was tasting wine in India, I was drinking more of red and powerful reds. However, when I started my journey in wine and the education and tasting, and we do so many tastings, my palate evolved. And my palate evolved, and I tasted all styles, all kinds of wine, all, we taste so much. But yeah, I think for me, I enjoy everything. I mean, from champagne to white to red. But for me, the one of the most interesting style of wine is sherry. I love it. It's very interesting for me. So I really like the whether it's Oloroso or Palo Cortado. I just
Have you been to Jerez?
that is something which is on my target
Oh, you
list.
should do. It's
I have
definitely going to be your favorite wine region from
Yeah,
this
I have to go.
moment.
So obviously, like I've been to Champagne so many times. I live in Bordeaux, so you taste so many Bordeaux. Obviously, Burgundy. Everybody is excited with Burgundy and stuff like that. And I love to taste wines from across the world. For me, it's very exciting because the styles from South Africa to even Chile and Argentina, to see the kind of styles they make from the US, or going up to Australia, New Zealand. I tasted a lot of Indian wines as well, to see how things are. And obviously, it's living in Europe. From Europe, it's very easy to taste different wines from Europe. But as I mentioned, that obviously I still love a great red. I love it. I in the later in the evening or stuff like that. But that is something which is something which I think I started off when I was in India, and that's something which brings that smile back to my face,
It's like
saying
first love, you know,
yeah,
you
yeah,
never
because
forget.
it was so many, like, all through India, and those was my, because also I realized why was that happening, because I also realized that the storage conditions was not perfect for a white. And that is why the preference was more on the red, and also because we the kind of wines maybe was not available. So when I today, for me, like, I love a Gruner Veltliner. It's something very exciting for me. I love it. And obviously you have the Chardonnay and stuff, but I like a good Gruner. Riesling, Chenin Blanc. I think it's great for me. And my palate has really evolved, and I enjoy it. But one of the regions I would definitely want to visit is Jerez. So I really want
Yeah,
to.
definitely, definitely. I'm sure you'll fall in love if you already love, and I also do love Sherry myself. That's a region that's very pleasant, both in terms of sights and nature, and in terms of the wines and the atmosphere. For sure, it leaves good memories, good memories. So I wish you to visit it as soon as you can. And
Yes.
thank you so much for your time today. It's been very insightful and super interesting. And thank you for sharing all your expertise, all your knowledge, and all your passion and projects. And good luck to the Indian Sommelier Association. I have faith that you guys will achieve great things for sure.
Thank you, Zenia. Thank you so much. And on a personal level, thank you a lot for a lot of support all through, whether it's the Sommellerie Association or also as a friend. And I wish you great luck on and best wishes for your upcoming exams in
Oh,
June.
I need all the luck.
All the luck for you and the upcoming exams. And I think you also all the best for your podcast and all the other
Thank you.
projects you're planning. So very, very happy to that you decided to have a discussion with me, and thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode, and I'm really grateful to Amrita for being so sincere, so open, not only about the Indian market and walking us through the stages of its development and discussing the current trends and situation, and also highlighting the sommelier profession and what's happening in the sommelier world and what would probably happen in the near future, but also sharing and summarizing her own experience that I find a very interesting trajectory that brought her places. And I'm really glad that we've met at some point of her wine career and my wine career. As Amrita mentioned in her speech, that we are both fellow MW students, and I am sitting my stage one assessment. And I know some of you, whoever you are in the wine world, are sitting your MW stage two exams. And I want to take this moment to wish all of us a lot of luck, all the luck that we can get, because we will need it. And obviously, I do hope that my next episode will come shortly in June. Let's see how it's planned. So this year is focused on women in wine, and I intend that all my speakers this year are women, remarkable women in wine. So I'm cooking something special for you. Again, wish me luck for my stage 1 assessment, and I talk to you soon.